Consistency is key in modern feed production, impacting everything from supply chain reliability to animal health and profitability. In this interview, Thomas D Alfonso, Director of Animal and Aquaculture at US Soybean Export Council, also known as USSEC, discusses the challenges of ensuring feed ingredient quality, the global variations in feedstuffs, specifically soy, and the benefits of consistent, high quality inputs. My name is Iris Hofman. I'm an audiovisual editor at All About Feed, and I will discuss these topics with Tom. Well, hello, Tom. It's a pleasure to do this interview with you.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Great. So let's just dive in. Why does consistency play such a critical role in feed production today?
Well, consistency is very important because you're counting on the nutrients to be in those ingredients that you're formulating. And oftentimes in biological systems, you have naturally occurring variants. But what we know from feed ingredients are some of them go through a supply chain and processing, and all of these factors can increase variance in the quality and the nutrient composition. And so, what you want is an ingredient that survives through the supply chain, that has the nutrients that you expect, so that when you formulate the diet, it balances correctly.
Exactly. And can you give me some examples of how inconsistent feed negatively impacts feed supply chain partners?
Well, it particularly affects animal producers. So, animal producers are counting on those nutrients to get the animals to grow most efficiently. And when the nutrients are either not there or occur in inconsistent manners, then the animals don't perform as consistently. You have a whole population of animals that you're feeding, and you're counting on the ingredients in those diets to provide the nutrients to a population. If the diet is also variable, then the animal performance can become more variable. And what you want is to be able to feed the animals more precisely, get them to the processing plant more uniformly. A lot of animal production systems require very tight specifications on the size of the animals going to the processing plant. And so, all the way from the beginning of the way the animals are fed and raised can introduce variance or can it hurt uniformity of the flock or the herd. And this impacts profit.
Exactly. And how can feed manufacturers ensure they are purchasing consistent feed ingredients then?
Well, it's good to have good relationships with your suppliers to know the consistency of the products that they are supplying. It's good to formulate with information that you may collect on your own quality control systems to monitor the quality of those ingredients in the production system, and then to choose suppliers that provide you reliably with highly consistent ingredients.
So, can you speak to the types of differences feed manufacturers might see in global feedstuffs, specifically regarding to soy?
Well, regarding soy, the U.S. soy supply chain is very robust and very consistent in the sense that right from the growing and harvesting conditions are very consistent. We do not need to dry our beans; they dry naturally on the field. Our farmers use sustainable practices that also improve consistency. So they apply fertilizer only where needed in the soil, with variable rate application systems and GPS positioning systems to precisely apply inputs to the soil. And that does a number of things. One, you only use what you need, so you're reducing waste. You're much more consistent in the nutrient composition of the land. Then at harvest, as I mentioned, the beans go straight to the elevator, and our supply chains are able to carry large quantities. So the railway systems, the roads, and the rivers are all ways that the beans move in bulk. And this is much less damaging than small quantities on truckloads, than those systems where drying is required before processing, and there's much more handling of the product. So this is an example where, right from the growing practices and the sustainable practices of farming, all the way to the meal being produced to get to the feed mill and to feed the animals is just a much more consistent process.
Exactly. And if we dig into each of those responses, how does higher quality protein and more energy impact animal health?
Oh, in a great way. You really want the nutrients to be available to the animal for productive means, whether that is to produce milk and eggs or meat. Um, the nutrients, the calories, and the essential amino acids are the most important nutrients in the diet. If they're not metabolized by the animal, if they're not highly digestible and consistent, then they're available for bacteria in the animal's digestive system. And what you really want is the nutrients to be available to the animal. And so animal performance is greatly impacted by the consistency of the digestibility of the essential amino acids and calories.
Yeah, exactly. And now every manufacturer also has to think about their own profitability. How does lower feed conversion cost impact businesses' bottom lines?
In many ways, actually. So, feed conversion is simply a ratio of how much feed is needed to produce the same unit of animal protein. And so, when you improve feed conversion, you're lowering the amount of feed required to produce the same amount of animal protein, or you can produce more animal protein with the same amount of feed. And so the first thing that feed conversion does is give you an option as to how to use this extra capacity in your animal production system in the feed mill. It could be to produce more meat. It could be to get them to the processing plant faster. So there you might have more cycles per year. Going back to the topic of consistency, having a uniform flock is easier to manage and get them to the processing plant. So all these work together: uniformity, feed consumption, rate of growth, to bring profit to the animal production system.
Okay, Tom, I also saw that you are very big on data, and the feed manufacturing business is increasingly data driven. Why does using a consistent feed ingredient help feed manufacturers optimize animal performance?
So using a consistent feed ingredient in feed manufacturing means that you can formulate with the values that you expect to be in the ingredients. If you have inconsistent ingredients, it means that um, you may not have the nutrients that you expect batch after batch after batch. And so when that happens, the nutritionist may decrease the assumed amount of nutrients in the ingredient. And when you do that, you're penalizing the ingredient because of its variability. It means that you will have a more costly diet. It means you'll have more costly animal production. So having a consistent ingredient means that you can formulate without the use of these safety margins, as they're called, or the safety margins will be very minor. So all of this affects the profitability of the feed manufacturing and the animal production system.
Exactly, thank you. And is there anything else you would like to share with us today?
Well, I think the story of sustainability is an important one here because consistency and sustainability go hand in hand. Um, I really enjoy when I'm traveling with our grower leaders who represent those farms that have been in their families for generations. And when we talk about sustainability to the soybean farmer, to the US soybean farmer, it means using the same amount of land that has been in their family for generation after generation. And these stories of sustainability are really stories of the American farmer passing on, their business and making the business sustainable from one generation to the next. So caring for the soil, using variable rate application systems, low impact on the beans due to the growing and harvesting conditions and the supply chain. All of these tell a story of sustainability and the nutrient composition and consistency all at the same time.
Great. I think that's a good way to end this interview. I want to thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.